Another week of college football has come and gone, and we saw some interesting storylines unfold after the first edition of the college football playoff rankings. Some teams proved their worth and saw their jump in position, and others saw themselves fall hard, especially in the ACC after some disappointing results. We're back for the 10th episode, boys, of Locks and Longshots. We're going to give our top 25. We are going to react to the college football rankings, and we're going to make our picks as always. The boys are all here. We have Dylan Price, Justin Chevalella, and Josh Bartosik. I am Thomas English. First off, happy Veterans Day from all of us. We are recording this Tuesday evening, so thank you to all the veterans out there. And second, we just saw the reveal of the second week of college football rankings. As we just said, we are filming this Tuesday. So we are basically going to react essentially kind of live to those and give our first thoughts. But first, gentlemen, how are we doing?
Alive and well. I think vibes are up. I think last week we came off a little tired and sluggish listening back. I think we're up today.
Josh, you.
Oh, me? Yeah, no, I have to. Yeah, I agree. We're doing
hot potato.
Fantastic. Hot potato. Ooh,
that's not the right one.
The potatoes to me. All right. I had to eat a tortilla last week to wake us all up. And then eventually we were alive and we were so well. I think we talked for like 3 hours after this podcast was over.
We did.
But we're alive. We're well. Things are going well for the most part, I think, in the world of college football. So, Thomas, it's my turn this week.
No. You gotta. I remember it now. When we were in like elementary school, did anyone else's teachers make them play popcorn? Where after reading like a paragraph, you had to popcorn the next
Thomas,
person?
Popcorn to you. How was your week?
Hey, we're doing good. I think you're going to experience the same thing, Dylan. But we're getting temperatures of 75 degrees later this week on Friday. So I can't complain.
So that sounds great, except for the fact that I can't figure out my thermostat. It was yes, 34. It's great. We're in a warm.
It snowed the other day here.
It's fantastic to be Thomas or I right now.
Yeah.
The downside is I haven't figured out my thermostat. So last night I'm freezing. I am like so. I'm in ice.
Of a blanket.
I wake up this morning. I'm like, things that my thermostat's probably like 72. I look over 64. So I'm living in an ice box right now, but otherwise life's good.
I got mine at 72 right now. We'll see if that goes up.
It's at 67 right now.
Or it goes down, I mean. So,
God.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Mine's been 65. It's been awesome.
Wow.
I'm at 73 right now because it's 22 degrees outside.
I know folks at Penn State got some snow this week. I don't miss having to walk to class in the snow. I don't know about you guys. That was because
I used to do it in shorts.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's some psychopath behavior right there. I can't lie. But yeah, I'm doing good. Enjoying the weather that we're going to have this week. We got some more high school playoff football going on. So definitely good time. College basketball is in full swing. We got some good matchups tonight.
Did Penn State win tonight? Did they finish?
They did. They won by 9, I believe.
All right.
Tough one.
So
Navy.
Not a crazy good win, but
Josh, don't say it's just Navy. It's Veterans Day. Have a little respect.
Come on.
I know they're not a good basketball.
Well then, okay.
program.
Well, hold on. Well, in that case, why did Penn State beat them? That's a little bit disrespectful.
That's not for us to figure out here tonight.
You know what? That's for another day, another time. But let's get into a recap of this past week. Honestly, it was a pretty even slate for all of us in our results. So round of applause for everyone. TCU did not beat Iowa State at home. The Cyclones got a nice win there. Big result in the group of 5. Memphis going down at home against Tulane. That's huge. We'll talk about the group of 5 rankings a little bit later. Cal, one of those ACC matchups that just, kind of have blown up the college football playoff for the ACC. Cal beats Louisville on the road.
And who got that pick right?
You did, Justin. You did.
Thank you.
Dude, I remember I want someone to go back and find the audio clip of me saying that I'm actually going to be so upset if this is the 1 week that Cal finally wins. And of course they did.
I saw that
1 week.
I saw that in the group chat, and all I could think was, man, this was the perfect time to fade Josh. And I didn't betting wise, but I should have.
Yeah. Cal was one of those teams that you were thinking about. But USC took care of business against Northwestern. Georgia took care of business against Mississippi State. Sorry, Justin. Bama, nice win against LSU. And then game of the week, I think, maybe other than Indiana, Penn State, but game of the week, Oregon and Iowa. about as a game you would expect being played in Kinnick Stadium with a little bit of a low-scoring result. But Oregon did come out on top. That's a nice win for the Ducks to bolster their resume. Notre Dame just manhandled Navy. So not a great day for Navy so far. But Texas A&M does beat Mizzou. Mizzou without Bo Pribula, not able to get the job done. And then Texas Tech and BYU, another good game, but Texas Tech continues to look dominant, and they get a big win over BYU. So that is your results from this week. I mean, usually wait for the scores, but I'll give you it right now. Dylan goes 6 for 10. Rest of us went 7 for 10. So pretty much an accurate week. I was the only one who got my lock to keep the point. So those 3 get 6 points. I get 7 points, but it's pretty much anybody's game.
I got 7 because I got my long shot.
Dylan got his lock. It was UNLV. They did get the win.
Wait, did I get gypped the point?
No, you didn't.
No, I think Josh, you got.
You did.
Yeah, no.
I mistake Josh's because I took a point off for Josh's lock, but not his long shot.
We're
so
good.
Apologies there.
Apologies
Apologies
there.
there.
Back for me, please.
Yes.
I need it right now. Clearly,
You're out of the mix.
All right, we'll fix that
I was
later.
2 points behind last week. Whoa.
We'll fix that later. But that is your recap from this past week. We'll quickly go around. I think honestly, I kind of want to just start right with kind of giving the college football playoff rankings for this week, and then we'll talk a little bit about our headlines from that, if that's cool with you guys, because there was some interesting decisions in the college football playoff ranking this week. I think the biggest 3 storylines going in, I think we're all can agree, how the ACC teams were going to be ranked was a big one. How many, if any, group of 5 teams were going to be ranked. And then I think for me, and I think maybe for a couple of you, where Indiana was going to be ranked was a big one, especially after we all watched that Penn State Indiana game. So we'll go through it real quick. The top 5 remains unchanged. So nothing changing with the college football playoff there. Texas Tech jumps Ole Miss, and Texas Tech is number 6. Ole Miss is 7. And then everyone else kind of bumped up because of that BYU loss. Oregon's at 8, Notre Dame's at 9, Texas back in the top 10. Then you have Oklahoma. Then there's BYU. You have Utah, Vanderbilt. Miami is the top ACC team at 15. Georgia Tech right behind them at 16. Then you have USC, Michigan. Then you have 2 ACC teams in Virginia and Louisville, which we'll talk about in a little bit. 3-loss team in Iowa, a Pitt team who jumps 2 spots to 22, a 3-loss Tennessee team. Then you finally have a group of 5 team ranked in USF. And then finally at 25, we have Cincinnati. So that's your college football playoff rankings for the second week. Dylan, what is your headline either from those rankings or from this past week in general?
I have my headline from the rankings, and it's a lot shorter than my headline from the week in general.
Let's start with that.
Let's do rankings first roundabout, and then we'll do headlines after.
I mean, both of mine are pretty short as a whole, so I'll just do rankings. Eric Morris must be ecstatic that North Texas continues to fall outside of the top 25 in the college football playoff rankings. Not actually. North Texas has to be ecstatic that Eric Morris and his squad continues to fall outside of the top 25. They are the best group of 5 team, in my opinion. Drew Mestemaker is going to be the top quarterback in the portal. Eric Morris should be the top quarterback or top coach, rather, on a lot of teams' radars in this coaching search. And yet somehow North Texas continues to find its way out of the top 25. That's a little hint at our poll because we have properly rated North Texas. To me, they're the most battle-tested. They're the best G5 team. And yet they have not cracked the college football playoff top 25. Just USF has. So I'm going to tip my cap to the college football playoff committee because they have finally ranked the G5 team. I just don't think it was the right one. So that's my college football playoff rankings reaction, is that Eric Morris shouldn't be happy, Drew Mestemaker shouldn't be happy, but North Texas should be happy because it probably means they have a better chance at keeping one of the 2.
Yeah, I think that's valid, and we'll talk about our top 25 in a little bit. One thing I want to point out, and I'll go to Josh next for this. 4 ACC teams ranked between 15 and 20 this week. Josh, you're NC State fan, more of an ACC watcher. How do you feel like that shook up? How do you feel about Miami being over
I'm
Georgia
wearing an
Tech?
ACC team.
I know, but Josh he's an ACC.
I was born and raised.
But how do you feel about? I know you have some thoughts on Virginia, but also how do you feel about Miami being over Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Miami being ahead of Georgia Tech, yeah, they have the 2 losses and they're not great. And I do think Georgia Tech's loss to NC State is not a good one. That's not a good NC State team. But you have to go back to the fact that Miami's win against Notre Dame gets stronger each and every week, especially with the Notre Dame has been playing, and will still look better if they beat Pitt this week as well. So I don't hate that. I do like Louisville where they are because Louisville did beat Miami. But Virginia, why are they ranked? And I hate the fact that I'm kind of agreeing with what Justin said a few weeks ago about
timeout. You mean this?
In the last 2 weeks, I have been dropping Virginia, not because of beating Florida State, and definitely not because they beat Louisville, but because of the way they barely beat Washington State and the way they barely beat UNC. Those are 2 of the worst teams in power in the, well, I guess previous Power 5, because Wazoo's no longer in it, because they're in the Pac-2. But you just have to watch these games to realize UVA is not a top 25 team in the country. 7-1 record. I don't care. Look at that one loss too. NC State. I mean, go ahead.
Watch it.
I can tell you that I take in what I watch. The offense, the defense, the special teams. Anytime I put my eyes on a football game, and I can tell you my eye test is seeing a worse and worse Virginia team since that Florida State win. Yep, I ranked them high afterwards, and I kept them high after that Louisville win. But I have seen a Virginia team that is going down. And I will tell you, you'll all be joining me sooner rather than later.
Wow.
Yeah. Warned y'all.
Wow.
I warned y'all.
Great job.
NC State seems to be the common denominator here, but maybe they're just upset.
I want to point out in that clip, Georgia Tech was ranked 9th in our AP poll. I mean,
they hadn't lost yet. They had
not lost yet.
Yeah.
Really good team.
But Justin here or Chevy or whatever you want to call him today, I don't know what mood you're in, but
Jesus Christ.
Justin and or Chevy, just like Locks and or Longshots. No, I think Virginia doesn't. They were really hanging on by a thread with that Florida State win, when at the time they were ranked and brought up great points. They were scraping out wins, and they deserve to stay ranked at the moment because of the fact that they hadn't lost. But the second you lose a game, it's kind of similar to BYU, where we saw in the CFP, where like they lose one game and they drop 5 spots, right? I think that when your resume doesn't really when your resume isn't as strong as your record indicates, you should be punished a lot more. And I don't think Virginia should be ranked, quite frankly. I think it may be the committee trying to salvage some sort of dignity for an ACC that is probably going to end up as being just a one bid team with the way things are shaping up. So don't agree with that. Still don't really agree with Pitt being ranked either. I think it's just there to boost Notre Dame's resume, but I digress.
Justin, I want to go to you now with the talk about the top 5, because with Indiana and how they played against Penn State, kind of tying into your point about Virginia has not looked like a top 25 team, like you just saw in that clip. With Indiana's result, do you like them being 2 and respecting an undefeated record? Do you feel, I know we'll talk about your poll in a little bit, but do you feel that the committee is overvaluing some of the wins?
I think they are. I showed it in my poll. I dropped Indiana a couple spots. I believe Dylan did too. I'm not sure about Josh.
I had
Thomas,
them.
what you guys did. I dropped them to 4. At the end of the day, I think Texas A&M's resume, even let's say Indiana beat Penn State, by 10 plus, maybe 17 plus. At some point, we have to start looking at Texas A&M and being like, their average win has been, kind of better than Indiana's, constant blowouts that, as Dylan noted a couple of weeks ago, have been stat padding towards the end. And I think for a couple of weeks, I had gotten mistaken there thinking, every win was super impressive, and give credit to Indiana because they were impressive wins at the time. But the more you look at it, the more you look at the fundamentals. And Penn State, we've kind of rode on the fact that this Penn State team is better than their record indicates and, still has a ton of talent. At some point, you throw that away. And I think when you're playing close games like Penn State has but can't get it, it's still – no one's sitting here really talking about Mississippi State that's played close game after close game. I thought they were going to beat Georgia because of that and finally showcase that. But at the end of it, Penn State got blown out a couple times, right? Or, lost badly a couple times. and they have had their close losses, but we're still in this, like, we can't play that game forever. So I really think Indiana being a little overvalued here. And I think part of it is preconceived notions by the committee that things are going to play out differently over this final stretch of games. And what I mean by that is they think Texas A&M is going to go undefeated the rest of the way. And by virtue of that, they are going to have Texas A&M jump over Indiana at some point here in the next couple of weeks. But it doesn't make sense to do it right now because Indiana's coming off of a win against the number 2 team in the preseason. Not that we should be looking at preseason rankings while we're in week 12.
How Alabama beat preseason number 13
exactly.
South Carolina.
You get it now, Josh. And there's the other preconceived notions you look at is Cincinnati gets ranked this week. Cincinnati didn't had a bye week, but the week before they got crushed. The final score was 45-14 against Utah. Cincinnati's back here to help boost BYU's record and their resume down the stretch. And you can look at, other teams, like you mentioned the ACC. I want to go back to that point. The ACC is in that 15 to 20 range and taking up a bunch of spots like they are, not because that's really where they're all deserving. I think Louisville could probably use a little bit of a dump a little further after their loss. I think UVA, I had them unranked. You can look at this and say that type of stuff. And like the Georgia Tech Miami situation, why is Pitt ranked, all that crap, whatever you want to look at it that way. They're in that range of 15 to really 22 because they want the SEC to have the upper hand already for when the conversations come final. And I'm going to say it. This was going to be my headline. Thomas, you posed the question differently. I circle it all the way back to the headline. We are closer to a 3-loss SEC team than we are to a 2-bid ACC league this year. And I think that's obvious by the way these standings played out with Texas, 2-loss team already. They still have Georgia, Arkansas, and A&M on their schedule. If they can pull off an upset against Georgia or A&M and play that other team closely, they're in with 3 losses. Number 11, Oklahoma. They've got Alabama, Missouri, and LSU left. They lose to Alabama. All right, that's their 3rd loss, but they come back with wins against Missouri and LSU. You could see them getting in too. And I think they value, as long as they keep that Alabama game close, I should say. That's the caveat there. And even Vandy sticking around higher than these ACC teams. The committee has preconceived notions of what league is better than what league. And you know what? Maybe results always say that. But at the end of the day, I think we've seen a lot of that shine through this time around. And I think to bring it all the way back to the question you asked, we see that via Indiana being ranked above A&M and Alabama right now. I think the committee still sees it flipping at some point, that point, just not right now.
I think it's interesting that you say that because my takeaway from this was going to be that there's multiple 2-loss teams that I see, whether it's the group of 5, whether it's, Big 12 and Cincinnati, that I would rank ahead of Iowa and Tennessee and Missouri as 3-loss teams. So I think you make good points that they're trying to set up these games that would boost resumes or boost the conversations later down the line instead of just ranking them purely based on resume and things like that. And I want to bring up the point. I mentioned it a little bit before we started, but Iowa and Tennessee, right hand up. I mean, Josh made a great point on our last week. The SEC bias was there.
Twice a day.
Yeah. SEC bias was there, and I corrected it this week. The committee clearly didn't. They actually moved Tennessee up in the rankings. So I think it's interesting.
Thank you, Thomas, for being a true man here. We challenged you a couple weeks ago to start taking some risk. You did. We challenged you last week on Tennessee, and you answered the call here. So we appreciate you being a man of
answering, man. We have to give him
chivalry
credit.
is not dead.
You know what? I appreciate you, Justin. And we'll get to.
I don't hear that often, so I appreciate it.
Okay, no need to make this a sob fest.
My point being with those 3-loss teams is I would have liked to seen the college football committee put a couple of group of 5 teams, and that kind of segues into our top 25 poll. I would have liked to seen a couple of group of 5 teams go in those spots just to get them ranked, just to get those resume boosters, where then you're looking at the committee being able to say, well, the group of 5 has a win over a ranked team or has a win over this team. And as we take a look at our poll, you'll see North Texas at 20, USF at 21, JMU and Tulane right there, 4 in a row. I I love that all 4 of them are in. Do I think maybe 4 is a lot? Sure. But I think it's valid based on the resumes. All of them at 1 or 2 losses this year. I think all of them besides JMU are at 2 losses. Correct me if I'm wrong. But again, those, Mizzou being at 24, I like that because I think Mizzou, out of those 3 loss teams with Iowa, Tennessee, and Mizzou, I think Mizzou has the best resume. Maybe that's debatable, but I like that Mizzou is behind their group of 5 teams. Giving them credit for getting those wins. And obviously, I think the other thing that we're going to point out here is Indiana is 4 in our poll. I think that goes from Dylan ranking them 6. Is that correct? Yep. Justin and I both having them at 4. Josh, you still had them at 2, correct?
Well, I originally had them at 1 a few weeks or the last few weeks, so I bumped them down a spot.
So either way, we all had Alabama there and A&M ahead of them. Run through it ours really quick. All of the top 9 is in. Oklahoma is in. Texas bumps out for Georgia Tech as the ACC spot, and BYU bumps out for North Texas as the group of 5. I believe I got that right on our end. So that would be our top or our bracket going in for this. So Dylan, I want to go to you. You had Indiana the lowest. I feel like it's not a crazy thing for
it's hatred.
Justin
it's hatred towards Signetti, and it's
I do think there is a little bit of
maybe
that
not hatred. That's a little strong, but it's dislike for Signetti.
I think there is a dislike, but Dylan, I will give you the floor here to kind of talk about your reasoning.
First off, let us all tap ourselves on the shoulder, pat ourselves on the back, whatever you want to call it. This is the most aesthetically pleasing top 25 I've seen yet. And it somehow trumped last week, which I thought was also aesthetically pleasing. For me, it's more biased because we finally put JMU in there, fully in there. And I love that. I love the little purple and gold action. Listen, the colors are great, but the reality is that Bloomington red, Hoosier red, whatever you want to call it, should have been lower. For me, it's simply the quality of the play on the field. And I said this a week ago, and now I finally have some backing behind what I said. And I'm glad that Justin kind of emphasized it earlier because it helps me out in my case against you and Josh, who had consistently been putting Indiana a little bit higher than Thomas and I. For me, it's simply that I just don't think this Indiana team is as good as what the butt whoopings that they have put on lesser opponents has indicated. Do I think they are a top 5 team in the country? I had them at 6. But do I think they are one of the top teams in the country? Do I think they're the second best team in the Big Ten? Absolutely. Do I think they're more than capable of going on a run in the playoff? Absolutely. Do I think, and you guys are all going to be astonished when I say this, they are one of the best coached teams in the country? Yes, I agree. Wow. And I know you guys all think I have this like vendetta against Curt Cignetti.
We don't think, we know.
I don't have a vendetta against Curt Cignetti. I don't have a vendetta against the Hoosiers. My reality is that I think the coach, and more so the fact that they have one of the top 3 quarterbacks in next year's NFL draft, Elijah Surratt, when he's healthy, one of the top wide receivers in the country, Omar Cooper Jr., another guy who's going to be one of the top receivers in this year's draft, and not just because he literally levitated through the air for that catch against Penn State. And then also, let's shout out Charlie Becker. What a performance. Head topped like 6 different dudes in the game. The reality is that Indiana has a lot of talent in their weaponry. They have a very, very good quarterback who I hope is a New York Jet next year, selfishly. And they have a coach who I think is one of the top 10 in the game right now. The problem for me is that the defense, their run defense more so particularly, got ran over by a tailback who has had the worst season of his college career. And honestly, the entire performance from their run defense, they couldn't stop anything. Their pass defense struggled at times and made Grunkemeyer look like maybe the best quarterback Penn State's put against the top 5 team in the past couple of years. And to me, that's not a testament to Grunkemeyer. To me, that's not a testament to the run game for Penn State. Although I'm wearing a Penn State hoodie and I love the team and I love the program, to me, that's a flaw in Indiana's defense. And I think that's the part that in all of these thumpings that Indiana's put on teams all year, we've missed, is that this is a run defense that is not great. This is a pass defense that is solid at best. And this is an offense that is carried by its quarterback and a couple good playmakers. And so for me, I saw a lot of flaws in that game that we can poke holes in. And that's why I dropped them to number 6. Again, I still think they're one of the best coach teams in the country. I still think they have one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And I still think they have one of the best weaponry, the best arsenals in the country. I just don't think that when you put them in a head-to-head game, they lose to Ohio State, Alabama, A&M, Georgia, or Ole Miss. After that, why I had them at number 6, I think every other team they beat. That's my take. I know it's a hot take, but it's not that hot when you guys pretty much all had them at 4.
Yeah, for my ranking with 4, I think A&M has a better resume at this point based on quality wins. Obviously, they're both undefeated. And I think Alabama for me being ranked up there was just purely based on if you take away the Florida State loss, they're undefeated and they've been playing like one of the best teams in the country. So
you can't take away wins and losses, though. That's not.
I understand. But at the same time, I think Alabama's resume kind of speaks for itself. But Dylan, before we kind of hop off to Justin here, some of the head-to-head matchups that I know you've been hitting on the past few weeks. I tried to correct them this week, but the overall AP or our overall poll did not. With Oklahoma, Texas, and Michigan, USC.
I'm not happy about it. I'm not. I mean, we continue to neglect head-to-head matchups. I have to double check my poll to be fully transparent with you that I didn't do the same thing, but I didn't because I've kept that consistent. For me, it's head-to-head is important, but I was more than willing to do the same thing you guys did and drop UVA below Louisville. I've just been looking for that second loss, and I know Justin put his video out earlier, and I don't disagree with him. Shocking to Justin's opinion. I texted you guys a couple weeks ago. I said it. I've been putting my weight behind it that I don't think UVA is a great team. They've just been beneficiated by their schedule and by that NC State game that Josh explained to us off air. But I don't love the whole Oklahoma being in front of Texas thing. I think you guys are kind of idiots for that. But I try to mince words more often than not. And for the most part, for the second week in a row, I'm going to give us all credit like I did before outside of the aesthetically pleasing thing. I think outside of the Oklahoma, Texas thing and a couple other things that I could poke holes in, we're getting closer to getting the best poll. And I think a much more accurate poll than the College Football Selection Committee. So let us all pat ourselves on the back. Before more so Justin, because he looks like he's stewing, ready to scream at me. We all get angry at each other. I think we're doing a good job. We're getting closer to what I think is going to be the best end result.
Justin, did you pat yourself on the back there?
No.
He's angry.
What's the reasoning for that?
Probably at me.
Do you have some issues with the poll?
The job's not finished. Still got work to do.
Okay, cool.
Still got a couple of weeks left to figure this all out, and I think there's a couple more takes that'll probably even themselves out as we go. I'm really upset. I like the aesthetically pleasing. I think it's great, but I would like us to try to color coordinate these rows by color. So row 1 is red this week. I think we should try to get a blue row, a green row.
All right, Tulane top 10.
In all seriousness, though, I don't have an argument really. I didn't really go through your polls as much as I had a lot of time to pick them apart if I wanted to. I wish somebody had joined me on UConn. I ranked them. I know you guys are probably like, why are you wasting time after talking for 5 minutes before? Look, I'm just doing this because, again, I don't think 20 through 25 really matter that much. UConn is 7-3. They just beat Duke, an ACC team, this past weekend. And how about their quarterback? And let me try to get this name right. Joe Faniano, I think is how you say that. 2,840 passing yards, 25 touchdowns to zero interceptions. I mean, it's an incredible year, and I used one of my spots this week to credit UConn for the season they've been having. That's really my only thing that I have here. I was hoping one of you would join me on the UConn train this week. None of you did. Maybe you'll get on it next week. I don't know, but they're bound to finish, I think, probably 9-3, and I think at 9-3 they deserve a spot somewhere in the top 25. And if it's just my poll, it's just my poll.
I kind of feel like Justin was taking a shot at Dylan having a 7-3 UConn over 8-1 JMU. I don't know.
No, maybe that's I'll tell you straight up what I did there. I was trying to play a game of getting UConn enough points to appear on our graphic. Because once again, I don't care about 21 through 25.
Right.
I think those teams, they're not irrelevant, but they almost are in the grand scheme of things. So I was trying to play a game. I didn't give them enough points. Next week, I might just put them number 1 to make sure they're on here.
I'll be honest. I was stirring the pot there a little bit just to see if I could get something out of you, Justin. But you're pretty calm this week.
I had some candy before, so I'm happy right now. So
Okay.
normally I have my candy after the podcast, so I'm a little like, all right, can we hurry up so I can get my sweet treat? But I had it before tonight, so I'm a little calmer.
All righty. Well, Josh, any last thoughts before we kind of move on here?
I mean, I really hate the fact, Dylan, that you keep bringing up the hypothetical if you put them on a neutral field, because that's not what the rankings are for. That's what power ratings are for. And this is based off a resume. And I agree with you, Thomas, that I probably should have bumped Indiana behind Texas A&M. I think that their resume is better. And I do think that you still have to, you have to respect the fact that they're undefeated, because if you want to say that Indiana's defense isn't that great, then what does that say about Oregon's offense? Or what does that say about, Oregon's defense letting Indiana, run around like that? Does that mean Oregon's not a top 10 team? Does that mean that Indiana's wins against them?
When did I say Indiana's not a top 10?
You should probably go look at where Dylan and I had Oregon ranked this week.
I don't really look at your other polls. I just kind of go.
I had Oregon.
Then why are you commenting on them?
Dylan actually did have them in the top 10. Not gonna lie. So I'm not sure why.
I'm not discrediting. I said what I said before. It's not an indictment on Indiana. It's that I think they have some flaws. I think the other teams in front of them are stronger. So before you take the shot, hypothetical.
I'm not taking a shot, but
everything we have seen from those 5 teams, to me, puts them in front of those 6 teams. But I get it. I get where we're coming from. But I
would have had nothing to say if you hadn't ended it by bringing up the hypothetical thing, because I hate when we talk about the hypothetical.
You hate the hypothetical thing, but you've also been guilty of doing it before.
Have I? Oh, yeah. Well, I did to make a point last week about if you hypothetically.
If we put NC State on a neutral field. Okay.
I never said that. No, I said I used the hypothetical last week to prove my point to Thomas, which you all said was the best point.
Hypothetically, if you take Tennessee's logo off, Dylan's simply talking about a neutral field. You're talking about changing a whole team.
But you said the words hypothetically, and just like when I texted in our group chat that I don't think UVA is that good, anything that we say to each other is still grounds to use in this podcast.
That is a good point.
Except for when you make a game pick or change your game pick, then you don't get the point that
you
deserve.
And then complains. Hey, by the way, Thomas, a reminder that you have to add a point to me at the end.
I just did.
Okay. I actually did have one bone to pick with Dylan quickly. Josh made me remember it. You keep talking about the head-to-head matchups. That's great, but if you want to keep using that logic, then Michigan should have been ranked over Ohio State last year, and I guess Ohio State shouldn't have gotten to the national championship game. So
when did we rank anything last year?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying sometimes the better team has a bad day and loses a game. You can't just keep using head-to-head.
I think the head-to-head point is valid more
when they have the same record.
Because I'm going on what we actually see on the field. And then I'm going on tangible results of other games to put Josh's whatever thing about hypothetical in a blender and to respond to yours. I'm going on tangible things that we see on the field, which makes me think about the hypotheticals. And then I'm going on tangible things we see on the field, which led me to the entire argument about Louisville and UVA that we've seen, which led me to my argument about Texas and Oklahoma that I still stand behind. And it's led me to this whole head-to-head thing all year. And Thomas, thank you for supporting me on it and not being an idiot and actually seeing the rational point of view. We didn't rank Michigan and Ohio State last year. Yes, that was a one-off. I don't think it's a one-off because they've won.
I take Justin's side in that.
Texas wins this season. Oklahoma, Vandy, Mississippi State. Their losses, Ohio State and a god-awful Florida team. Oklahoma's wins are Michigan, Auburn, Tennessee, with losses to Texas and Ole Miss. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Again, for me, that puts Texas in front of Oklahoma because what did you just say? Oh, lost to okay, Texas. Okay. Anyways,
I think the point with head-to-head is valid more.
Here was injured, buddy.
Teams are back, are next to each other in the AP. Like when you have Oklahoma and Texas at 10 and 11, I think you can look at head-to-head there. Now, we're not looking at Miami and Notre Dame and saying, well, Miami beat Notre Dame. Let's put Miami ahead of them.
Well, aren't they both two lost teams? So maybe we should look at it that way? Just saying. Just saying, guys.
That's where the quality of loss is part of the conversation.
Oh, here we go. We make little changes for little teams. Anyway.
Wasn't Notre Dame your national champion prediction? Shouldn't you be the one person who's actually standing behind Notre Dame right now?
I'll never stand behind Notre Dame. So
Yet you picked them to win the national championship. Thank you.
All righty. Well, let's wrap that up there. If a week that felt like we got some things right, we still have some grievances against each other, but that'll be how that podcast
part of it's
goes.
for entertainment.
Well, yes. But all right, let's get into our picks for the week.
No. You didn't give us time to do our actual headlines, and I have a bone.
Oh, sorry. You took 17 minutes.
No. You guys will all get on this, and we can make it like one headline and quick talk about it. I have a problem with Pat Narduzzi, and I need to get it off my chest.
We can talk about that
headline. Will join me with it. It's not because I'm a Penn State fan. It's really not. It's because I'm a college football team or fan. And for
you're a college football team. Wow.
I wish I was.
You took Tennessee off and put Justin's face on the helmet.
I don't know why you're getting so mad because everyone knows I was right about that argument. So.
For a college football coach to come out and say it's not a must-win game because it's not a conference game and he'd gladly get beat by 103 or 110 points. What the heck? I'm sorry, but every game is a must-win game, especially when, let's be real, Pitt has been in the dust sitting behind Penn State in its own state for quite some time now, finally has the chance to be relevant on a national conversation, and they don't care about a big game against number 8 or whatever ranking you want to use for Notre Dame. Narduzzi's 0-4 against Notre Dame. They've been outscored 103-10 over their last 2 games head-to-head. Pitt doesn't control its own destiny in the ACC because there's a bunch of teams that could finish with 1 loss in conference play. So they need Louisville to beat SMU to make sure they're in the conference championship game. And also, College Game Day's there for the first time in 20 years. And lastly, how about your conference as a whole? Is basically a joke at this point with the way the conference or college football rankings have played out and how the committees looked at them. And you're willing to, go and say, I don't care if Notre Dame beats me by 103. Have a little bit more pride in your, school, in your team, in your conference, because these things matter in the long run. I'm sorry. I'm just frustrated. If I'm a coach, every game's a must-win game. I don't care if mathematically it's not. It is at the end of the day. And maybe it's not all on him. Maybe it's on the college football expansion and how every, Power 4 gets an auto bid. Maybe it's bigger than just a him issue. But I think it's just stupid to come out and say game's not a must-win game. Since Little League, every coach has said that you need to win this game, even if it's the first game of the season, even if it's not against a conference opponent. I'm just frustrated, guys. That was a pathetic comment.
I got 2 points off this. One, UMass is 0-9, and I guarantee they're trying to look at their next game as a must-win game because they don't want to go winless this season. 2,
correct.
I love the fact that he went from, I beat losing 103 to nothing, to he gave his team 10 points in the next one. 110-10 is the score. Why? You might as well just say you're going to lose 110 to nothing.
If I'm a player on that team, I actually just don't want to show up on Saturday.
If I'm a recruit, I don't know how to say his last name, but that Matt Sieg, I think, the big safety over in Pittsburgh, Sieg, I don't know how you say it, who was committed to Penn State and now Pitt's going all out for. I wouldn't go to Pitt. If my coach doesn't want to win every game, why wouldn't I go? Or why would I go?
We'll talk about that Notre Dame Pitt matchup in a little bit, but I mean, if you're College Game Day, if your recruits looking at Pitt, if your Pitt players or staff, you're looking at that with a little bit of a question mark.
Sometimes I don't know how he's still a head coach.
Again, technically he's right. Yeah. It's not a must win, but just stupid to say out loud.
Yeah.
Maybe say that after you lose.
Yeah. With that, let's get into our picks. So we talked a little bit about how we did. Point totals still tight. I'm at 56, Dylan and Justin at 55, Josh at 54. I did add the extra point, so Josh is at 53, now at 54.
Do you guys remember DD and the extra point? What a good show.
Oh, the show that died second.
Remember Chi-Town Sit Down?
That was a good show too. All right, record 61-29 for me, 58-32 for Justin, 54-36 for Dylan. Josh is 52-38. And Grant Cheeks is 34-56. So
Grant has picked how many weeks now?
Yeah, I think it's 2 or 3 back-to-back donuts on the board.
Gone but never forgotten.
So, hey, shout out Grant though. All right, let's get into it. South Florida, who is number 24 again. These are going to be all college football playoff rankings. We're not using the AP poll anymore. If you're interested in the AP poll, you can go look at that yourself. We care about the college football playoff. This is a big college football playoff game because South Florida is the representative for the group of 5 right now. They're on the road to play Navy. There is a 5-way tie for first place in the American Conference. And obviously, if you get to that American Conference championship game, you could be in good position for the college football playoff. Navy is 5-0 at home this year. If they win this game, this is their last home game. So if they win, they'll remain undefeated at home for the 6th time in program history. But USF, talk about this storyline for this team. They're trying to compete, not win, compete for their first conference title in their 29-season program history.
It's a must-win game, some would say.
Yeah, some would say that hypothetically this could be a must-win game. But with that, Dylan, I'll go to you for your first pick.
To me, it's simple. I kind of break it down to that North Texas Navy game. I think that was the measuring stick game for Navy. And I think Drew Messamaker and that North Texas team, to go back to, I guess, what ended up being my headline and also my college football reaction, because Justin talked so long, to make my pick as simple as possible. To me, that was kind of the end of the believing in Navy in this year. I think they're a fun team. I think they're always a fun team, but I think the reality is kind of smacking them in the face. They faced a better opponent in North Texas. They faced a much better opponent in Notre Dame, and they're again facing a better opponent in USF at home. I think this is a pretty easy pick for me. I'm going with USF. And before we go fully into the picks, I've done my lock. I've done my long shot. To tell you guys, because a little behind the curtain for those that watch and listen every week, we have a spreadsheet. We keep an active tab going. More often than not, one of Justin or I updates the picks as we go along the show. I've kept it as simple as possible. I have picked every game on our sheet, so you guys can all see my picks. I'm not doing anything for showmanship this week. I'm not doing anything for locks and long shots this week to surprise you. I'm keeping it as straight up as possible because I'm that damn confident. I'm going 12 for 12 this week.
Wow. With
someone click that, we're gonna need that.
At the very least, I'm going 10 for 10. That I'll put almost some money on, but I feel even good about my locks and long shots this week.
Well, we can maybe talk about a wager with that after we conclude.
I feel good about it, so let's do it.
But Justin, who is your pick for this one?
Yeah, I mean, Dylan basically hit it on the head. That North Texas game showed everything for Navy. They've played 2 playoff caliber teams in North Texas and Notre Dame. Neither game has gone particularly well for Navy, so give me USF. As much as I want North Texas to be the group of 5 representative, something tells me that the committee is going to do everything they can to get this USF team in.
Josh?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really else to say is that Navy lost bad to North Texas and North Texas lost worse to South Florida. And so, you know, by, what is it, transitive property of congruence? That's what they teach you in math class for all those math nerds out there. That means that multiplication. No, it's a transitive property of congruence. A is equal to B and B is equal to C. Therefore, A is equal to C. It's one of those things. So, with that being said, geometry out of the way, is South Florida.
Stat minor.
Yeah, I also, there's shapes in math. That's kind of how it works. And that's a big part of statistics. And I'll tell you a statistic. I'm 100% confident that South Florida wins this game.
Can I tell you a statistic since he left for a second? I'm 100% confident that Dylan is not going 12 for 12 this week.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, I've looked at his picks here, and
he went chalk with all of them. And
yeah,
we all know at this point of the season, you don't go chalk.
He didn't go chalk with all of them.
Wait, guys, chalk with all of them. I heard that whole take. I mean, 100%.
It's definitely not chalk.
I'm going 100%, and I did not go chalk. Anyway, sorry.
All right, I'm going to pick USF because I think the same thing. You know, Navy is just on the wrong path right now. And I like the story of USF. I like, you know, them trying to make some history this year. So give me USF. And it feels wrong on Veterans Day for us to be doing that, but we go with a sweep of USF there. On to our next one.
I bet you people would have forgotten we were recording this on Veterans Day if you hadn't said that. You could have just let it go.
That's all right. That's all right. Minnesota is on the road to play number 8 Oregon. Minnesota 6-3. Oregon 8-1. This is Friday Night Lights. So some Friday action. Oregon is 7-0 at home on Fridays. Golden Gophers, I don't know if I knew this, but they lead the series all time, 3-1. This is the first time they've played in Eugene. However, first regular season meeting between these two was 1975. Dylan?
We've said it. Kinnick kind of has ghosts in that stadium. Plus, they had rain in that stadium. Plus, they had everything else The wind was at Iowa's back to win that football game, and Oregon was still able to pull it out. Yeah, Justin dropped them in his poll. Yeah, we have been a little bit bullish on Oregon on our polls since that loss to Indiana. But this is still a team that's the top 10 best in the country. This is still a team that, in my opinion, is best suited for their best measuring stick game coming up soon, and it's not going to be this game against Minnesota. Row the boats all the way to Eugene, and then I guess try to row them back to Minnesota, but it's probably not going to happen. Give me the Ducks.
Justin?
Earlier in the year, we mentioned how Fridays can be scary for teams, and this being a Friday game really makes me want to pick Minnesota. And PJ Fleck is due for his massive upset that he gets at least once a year. And everything is telling me to go with the Golden Gophers. But, I mean, they lost to Iowa 41-3. They lost to Ohio State 42-3. This is not the massive upset for Minnesota. They got their upset over Nebraska a couple weeks ago. I can't pick them. So I guess I got to go Oregon. As much as I think they're kind of on the way down, I'll go Oregon.
Josh?
Yeah, I like how you know, everything is telling me blah, blah, blah. Because you said that about Mississippi State last week, which did not work out in your favor.
I've also said that about UVA. And, oh, look at that. It worked out in my favor. So I'm betting at least 500.
Probably more like below the Mendoza line all time, but that's a different conversation. Despite the fact that I live in the great state of Minnesota, they don't have a great football team in any portion of this state. And so Oregon's going to win by probably 35 by the end of the first quarter.
That's a crazy statement, but I do think Oregon
Minnesota was down by 35 at halftime to Iowa. That's how bad it was a few weeks ago. It got so bad that people on my team bus thought that it was AI. They thought the score was AI generated. I'm not even joking.
Listen, I thought Iowa was going to beat Oregon. I'm still not completely sold on this Oregon team, but I do like them enough to beat Minnesota. All right, let's move on. Michigan is on the road technically to play at Northwestern. This game is played at historic Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs. Obviously, Northwestern Stadium is being renovated. Third matchup for the George Jewett Trophy, which is the first rivalry trophy named for an African-American player in FBS history. 78th meeting all time. Wolverines dominate the series and haven't lost since 2008. Dylan, who do you like?
It's not changing. 17 years straight, and we continue the run of success for the Wolverines. To me, this just seems like we're situating the Wolverines to continue to stick around until rivalry week. And then we've kind of got it where Michigan's got a shot at the Big Ten championship. And, oh, here they go for a matchup against the Buckeyes. So I think that continues to go. And as fun of a team I actually would say as Northwestern's been this year, Wrigley's seen a lot of losers recently, and I think they see another one on Saturday.
That's just incorrect.
It's just a stray I wanted to take.
The Cubs are the best team in Chicago.
Yeah, okay, that's like saying most years Penn State's the best team in Pennsylvania. Your matchup's Pitt, and your matchup's
notice how you didn't say
this year it's not.
Notice how you didn't say that the Yankees were the best team.
They are. They're the one team that made the playoffs.
Okay, Justin, who's your pick?
Michigan.
Yeah, Josh decides not to talk for a segment.
Northwestern should actually stop renovating the current field they have and stick by the one that's near the water because it looks awesome. That has nothing to do with this game. Michigan wins.
Yeah, I think Michigan rolls. Northwestern got manhandled by USC. Give me Michigan in this game. All right, we will move on to our next one. Number 19, Virginia is 8-2. They are on the road to play Duke, who is 5-4. Cavaliers have won 7 of these last 8 meetings. Both teams are coming off losses, but this is a big ACC matchup, especially for Virginia, because there's a week of kind of uncertainty in the ACC. So, Dylan, who do you like?
It's tough because UConn, you know what, to give Justin a little bit of credit, they pulled off a big upset last week against Duke, and it was an impressive win. I want to tip my hat to them in that regard. I want to tip my hat because it seems like they've got something brewing there, but I also have to acknowledge the fact that UVA finally came down to life. And I think they had an incredible run, but this feels like sometimes when you throw a dart at a hot air balloon, it's not going to go well from here. They were blown up as high as you could see. They were put into the college football playoff picture, but now feels like where the come down begins. They have a great run game. They have a really solid defense. But we got to remember that this is a UVA team that we were talking about ousting Tony Elliott a year ago. And now to see them have the run they've had has been a lot of fun for those in Charlottesville. And listen, they're going to get a Premier Bowl game, whatever that is these days. But for me, it's Duke. It's the Wackos. And it's honestly a team that I think shot themselves in the foot and did everything they could to lose the game against UConn and still only lost by 3. Darian Mensah, I think, has a comeback performance. Nate Shepard in that run game has a comeback performance. And I think their defense does a better job keeping this UVA offense in check. So I'm going to go with the upset, and I'm going to go with the Wackos to go with Duke to win it.
Mr. Chevrolet.
I hate this game. I'll be dead honest with you. I don't think there's a good way to pick because the end, conventional wisdom tells you to pick the 8-2 team over the 5-4 team. But you also look at Virginia, who I have faded for quite some time now, and you realize that they're just not good, and they're coming off a loss to Wake Forest at 16-9 result. You could also use, what was that equation before, Josh?
The transitive property of congruence.
You use Cal here for that property, and Virginia beat them by 10. Duke beat them by 24 if you want to play that game. The difference was, I don't know, both teams went to Cal, so I guess there's not really a difference there in terms of venue. I don't know. It's a coin flip. I'll go with Josh, who are you picking?
No, I'm not.
I'll go with Duke.
Wow. Okay. Josh?
Justin, join me.
I'm also going with Duke. I really like Darian Mensah a lot. This is a Duke team that's very hot and cold, right? And I think that it kind of flip-flops. Normally, after they lose a game to a team they should beat, I think a lot of people had them being Tulane early in the year. They go on these little runs. They start winning some games. I think they're going to do that again. And I agree with what Dylan said about this is really the downfall of Virginia. I think that loss to a not great Wake Forest team, a terrible Wake Forest defense, and you put up 9 points. That's the best you can do against Wake Forest, who can't even fill their student section at all. If you combine all the students that go into the student section the entire year, it still doesn't fill up that student section. So it's a terrible loss for Virginia. They just haven't looked good. Only time I'll ever say go Duke.
I honestly, I'm in the same boat as Justin. It's like 50-50 for me, coin toss. My biggest thing is Duke has not played well at home, which is weird to say. A lot of their good wins have come on the road,
shows up.
Which is interesting. So I'm going to take Virginia here. I'm going to try to go against the grain of you guys a little bit. I'm going to be honest. I was going to try to pick Duke here, but you guys kind of led me the other way.
Take some risks.
Well,
come on, Tommy. Tommy, take a chance.
I guess I am taking a risk if all of you guys think Duke is going to win. So I'm going to take Virginia, and you know what? Give me some chaos in the ACC, even more chaos, I guess. Give me Virginia. All right.
Into our next give some love to my analogy of the year because I put it in our private chat and none of you said a word. Shooting a dart at a hot air balloon should be as good of as close to horseshoes and hand grenades as Josh's comment.
The thing is that I never self-glazed that. You're self-glazing right now.
You should have saved it for Ole Miss because Jackson Dart played there last year, so would have been cooler.
It also makes sense though, Josh.
Hey, who's your coach right now?
What?
My coach is Mike Kafka.
That's a well-known saying, Thomas, what mine is. His is brand new. I do like it.
All right.
I was going to give you congratulations, but you
Dylan's saying goes
all right, NC State 5-4 plays at number 15, Miami 7-2. I don't care about the history of this game. This should be wildly all of us picking Miami. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
All right, Josh.
TCU 6-3. They're on the road to play BYU, who just lost. BYU's in a tie for second in the Big 12 now at 5-1. TCU's last road win against a ranked opponent was 2022. Dylan?
I'll keep it as easy again. I like this TCU team a week ago. They burned me. So now I go with Bear and I go with BYU. I think the dream collision that we said for the Big 12 championship a year ago is now starting to come into focus. So give me BYU. And I think we're starting to stare down BYU and Texas Tech for the Big 12 title.
Justin?
Yeah, I'm going to pick BYU, but something tells me this might change.
Your pick is going to change?
Yeah,
Justin doesn't feel good about his pick. So, all right,
Josh. If that happened before the end of this podcast, I'm not having another half a point BS.
Yeah, no. It'll happen before the end of the podcast.
Okay.
Josh, go ahead.
I mean, I still think this is a very good BYU team. And I think that they did need to lose a game in the regular season to kind of, come back down to reality. And it's not the same situation as Alabama losing to Florida State in the first week, where it was the best case scenario. But I think this is a good scenario for BYU to, get not just lose, but quite frankly, get kicked in the mouth below 70 yards rushing against Texas Tech. They were like 3 for 15 on third down. It was an embarrassing performance. I think they come back better, prove that they still deserve to be ranked, that their 8-0 start to the year wasn't just a fluke. So I've got BYU in this one.
I'm going to take BYU as well. I think this is a nice bounce back game for them. I don't think TCU is as good as their record says. And I think BYU needs a bounce back. And Dylan, I would love that rematch of BYU and Texas Tech in the Big 12. That would be electric for sure. So give me BYU in this one. We'll move on to the Big 10 and the first of our 4 ranked matchups this week. Number 21, Iowa, 6-3 on the road to play number 17, USC, who is 7-2. We know about the matchups from last week. USC still 7th in scoring offense, 2nd in total offense. Iowa is 1-4 west of the Rockies under Kirk Ferentz, but the lone win was against USC in the 2019 Holiday Bowl. So there's a little bit of history for you. Dylan, who do you like?
I remember that Holiday Bowl. Ugly, ugly, ugly football game. But anyways, I'm going to go with USC here. You kind of said it. The offense, to me, outpaces Iowa's every single day and twice on Sundays. If this game was played at Iowa, it goes back to my Oregon analysis. Kinnick's got ghosts in the field, just like Jordan-Hare Stadium. Shout out Auburn. But for me, it's pretty simple. USC's offense is a firecracker. And I think if their defense can handle Iowa's offense, keep them below 20 points, which I don't think is an unachievable goal, even just slightly beyond that. This should be a game USC wins, and USC should win comfortably to keep themselves in the playoff picture.
Justin?
Why are his heart's telling him to pick Iowa? Everything is telling him to pick Iowa.
The simple matter of fact is that USC's offense is way too good. It's probably the best offense Iowa has seen all year. Sorry, Indiana. Sorry, Oregon. Numbers prove that it's USC. So give me the Trojans here, and honestly, give them to me by like 17. Why'd I huff and puff? Just for fun.
Josh?
All right, give me TCU in the BYU game. That's why.
Wait, okay. What? What's going on here?
He wants to.
Are you actually flipping?
Yep, I flipped to TCU.
Okay.
He flipped like every Penn State commit in the last 3 months.
Does anyone else want to flip while we're at it?
No. I'm comfortable. I told you guys 10 out of 10.
He's going 12. He's going 12 for
12 out of 12. Yeah. All right, Josh. Who do you like?
Yeah, well, there's no, ghosts at Kinnick this time because Iowa's finally back on the road. So USC will win this one by however much they please. Their offense is too good, like Justin said.
Yeah. I'm going to go fight on too. I picked them to go over their win total this year. Huh?
What was this peace sign?
That's their thing. Fight on.
I didn't realize there was a peace sign involved.
Yeah, I don't know why they do it, but that's what they do. So give
fight
me
on
USC.
With a peace sign. It's a little bit of oxymoron, but okay.
I don't know, Josh. You go look up the origin, I guess. All right. Let's move on to Notre Dame at Pitt. This is the college game day game. 7-2. Pitt is off a bye week and will host this. First time at Pitt in 20 years. Pitt has won 5 straight after losses to West Virginia and Louisville. Irish have won the last 4 contests between these two, and this really is the last remaining test on the schedule for the Irish. So, Dylan, who do you like?
College game day could have had some fun. We're not going to predict another matchup that they could have gone to. There's a number of other matchups they could have gone to kind of color the D3 ranks, color the D2 ranks. Really could have picked another fun matchup in the FBS level, but yet they picked a matchup that I think is best suited for their current game day panel, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think McAfee's going to jump in the water. That's my bold prediction right now, my long shot, but actually lock of the week. He's going to jump in the river. This is going to be a super fun homecoming for Pitt, more so for McAfee. I think this is going to be a fun game day, and so as much as it would have been cool to pick one of those lower games, I get why they did it because it's the homecoming for McAfee, and I think we can already kind of read the tea leaves here. He's going to have some fun with the fact that he's back in his hometown, just short of Plum, Pennsylvania. But the fun is going to stop somewhere, and to me, it's going to stop when they get on the gridiron. Notre Dame is a grossly better team. Pitt has a very fun young quarterback, and they have a very fun team right now. But when your coach outspokenly says, hey, we can lose this game and still be in the ACC picture, to me, you shot yourselves in the foot before you even got on the state. And I was going to say got on campus, but before you even got in the parking lot of Heinz Field / Acrisure. To me, it's as simple as that. Notre Dame wins. Notre Dame wins by 2 scores.
Justin?
Yeah. I mean, Pitt, what was that equation again? I keep forgetting it.
Transitive property of congruence.
Because Pitt beat BC 48-7, but Notre Dame beat BC 25-10. I know we're actually talking about, BC here, mattering for once this year. So technically your property would tell me to pick Pitt. And honestly, give me the chaos scenario. I don't like Pat Narduzzi. I don't care about the comment he made, or I do care about the comment he made. I think it's a horrible look. I think his players will have the wrong, whatever. But this Notre Dame team's battled some tough games. I don't know. Nah, I'm picking Notre Dame. Never mind. Give me Notre Dame. Chaos scenario would be fun, but Notre Dame.
Consistently talking himself out of picks is what I've noticed on this episode specifically. But
a lot.
Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why I keep picking myself or talking myself out of picks, Thomas.
I don't know. Josh, who do you like?
I mean, I don't really like.
Soon.
Okay, I don't really like either of these teams. But again, I mean, you're going to come out as a head coach and say you're going to lose, or you're fine losing 110-10. That might be the final score of this game, because what was it that you said, Thomas, earlier when we were talking that the
transitive property? Sorry,
no. The last 2 times these teams have played, what's been the combined score?
That was Justin who had that.
What was in 103-10.
Yeah. So I think that might actually be the final score in this game, quite frankly. Maybe Pat Narduzzi is, a psychic and see the future, because there's no way in hell this Pitt team is winning this Saturday.
I like Notre Dame too. I honestly do hate the fact that Notre Dame gets away with an easier schedule and will coast into the college football playoff. I really do, but this is a good Notre Dame team. And Pitt, I'm not convinced they're a top 25 team. I think we can all kind of agree on that. So give me Notre Dame in this one. And we'll move on to another game, SEC matchup. Oklahoma is 7-2 to play Alabama, who is number 4 and 8-1. Alabama took a tough loss to Oklahoma late last year that kind of basically knocked them out of the college football playoff. That was their first matchup as SEC foes. Alabama has a chance here to kind of lock themselves into the college football playoff and really almost lock themselves into the SEC championship based on other schedules and the current standings. Alabama has not played in a 1-score game at home this year, and those matchups were specifically ones against Vanderbilt, Tennessee, LSU. So some of those top matchups. Dylan, who do you like?
I remember back in the day.
Do you remember? Sorry.
I wasn't going there. I remember back in the day, I was in the back of my mom's Ford Explorer, and I had one of those little tape players you can watch on long car rides. And I stuck a little CD in. It was the Texas Vince Young era. And it showed the entire national championship run. It showed, the losses, the ugly games, whatever it may be, the ugly performances along the way. And it feels like you have to dent the armor sometimes before you come out looking even sharper. And so for me, that's when we look back to that week 1 game that Josh wanted to mention earlier and go, man, they lost to Florida State. Yeah, Mike Norvell is going to be out of a job the way things look in a couple of weeks and back to the G5. And we're going to hold that against. I'm sorry, I'm talking. We're going to sit here and still try to hold that against Alabama. At the end of the day, I like Mike Norvell. I think he got the short end of the stick by not giving enough time to him to actually accurately recruit this team. But it seems like he's going to ride out the rest of this season. And it seems like that game is going to be the dink in the armor for Alabama this season. I think that's going to be the video that you put on the film. That's the video that you look back and go, ooh, that was the glaring hole on a resume that otherwise was chef's kiss for the remainder of the year to get them to the SEC championship game. What they do from there, well, you'll have to figure out all of our analysis when they get to that point. But for me, it is a smooth sailing route for Alabama until we get to then. And that includes cruising through the Sooners at home. And it hurts me. It hurts me. We all know how bad I want to say Boomer.
Sooner.
Not this week. Alabama wins.
Justin?
Sorry, Josh.
No. Before he goes, I just want to say that I've been saying for like 6 weeks straight that Florida State loss is the best thing that could have happened to Alabama, but yet I'm the one that said that they're terrible because they lost. Why did I say that?
You brought it up earlier.
No, I didn't. I said because Indiana is undefeated.
The face that Josh made looked like you just told him his dog was a cat. Like,
you're just putting words in my mouth. There are clips of me literally saying that is the best thing that could have happened to Alabama to lose week 1, and because they look like one of the best teams in the country. But no, I think they suck because they lost week 1, apparently. Just put words in my mouth.
Justin, your pick.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan said earlier, oh, are you not going to stand by Notre Dame because they're your national title pick back in the preseason? I'm glad to see mine is still alive. Who did I have them facing in that game? Alabama. That is who I had facing in the national championship game. But guess what? For the second time on this podcast, I'm not going to stand and defend a team that's playing in my national championship. Look, I love Ty Simpson. I would think Ty Simpson would have my vote for Heisman if I had a vote, but obviously I won't, or I don't, and I probably won't. And here's why. I don't think any team in this day and age is capable of going undefeated in the SEC. And it's been seen year in and year out that the SEC, especially late in October into November, they, start, killing themselves from within, really. And it, clouds the playoff picture. And I love Alabama. I think they're one of the top 2 most talented rosters, but sometimes you have a fault game like you did in week 1, and they still haven't had that fault game in SEC play. They've had a couple close games, but not really anything that, went the wrong way. And on the other side, Oklahoma is, 1 loss away from being eliminated, albeit I said earlier, I think a 3-loss SEC team could make the playoffs this year. Oklahoma is basically playing in the playoffs now. They know this is a must-win game. I know that's kind of been our staple here tonight, or at least mine. This is a must-win game for Oklahoma. And not only that, we haven't really seen John Mateer healthy in a little while since he came back from that injury. But John Mateer has had an extra week off. This is an Oklahoma team coming off of a tough road win at Tennessee, then go on the bye, and now you play Alabama on the road again. Yeah, tough to go from Neyland over to Tuscaloosa, but at the end of the day, you had that week off, and that week off, I think, makes the difference, and it gets John Mateer to play a game like he was in the beginning of the year when we were talking about him being a Heisman. So, and I think that Oklahoma defense, I didn't even mention it. I think that Oklahoma defense could give Ty Simpson some problems. Heck, LSU's defense only allowed 20 to this Alabama team a week ago. So I'm going to roll with Oklahoma here. Give me the Sooners. So I'm probably going to be on my own here, but if I'm not, somebody respond when I say Boomer. Yeah, that's what I figured.
Josh, who's your pick?
Yeah, well, I didn't say Sooner because, I do agree that Oklahoma has a pretty sturdy defense, but also we've been talking all season long about how LSU was really boosted until things really started derailing about the fact that they had probably a top 3 defense in college football. I think they can hold almost any team in the country to 20 or under 24 points. Their offense just can't seem to score 24. That's been really the problem with LSU all season. This Alabama offense, however, is a different story. They're fantastic, and you mentioned it. Ty Simpson should win the Heisman, in my opinion. He's been the best quarterback in college football, probably the best player in college football as well all around, has really, taken the reins and been fantastic. And I'm going to say something again that I've said multiple times, unlike what Dylan alluded to what I've never said before in my life, which is that Alabama, that loss to Florida State was the best thing that could have happened to them. I'm going to keep saying it until they lose again, which might not be the rest of this season with the way they've been playing. I do like Oklahoma. I think John Mateer is as close to fully healthy as he has been since getting injured. I think the Tennessee game, we saw a little bit more of that as well, where they were able to, win that game big in the fourth quarter. with a comeback, but I don't see them winning on the road back-to-back in the SEC, especially against an Alabama team that looks at times like the best team in the country.
I completely agree. I think if you flip this and put this game in Norman, I would pick Oklahoma. I think just the playing in an SEC road environment against a top 5 team is so much more difficult than playing even on the road in the SEC against a top 25 team. Like, I think there's just levels to it. And especially when you bring a team like Alabama, who is seeking vengeance after last year, essentially knocking them out of the college football playoff. I like Alabama to get rolling again. And, I think, again, I think I said it 2 weeks ago, but I think Alabama can win out or should win out the rest of the year. So give me Alabama in this matchup. We'll move on to our final matchup of the week. I think this is going to be our game of the week. Number 10, Texas is 7-2. They're on the road to play number 5, Georgia, who's 8-1. Georgia, this is their SEC finale. So this is it for them. They could end with one loss. They have Charlotte the week after, and then Georgia Tech on their schedule. Texas is back off the bye week, but find themselves back in the top 10 after they were ranked highly in the preseason poll. Georgia beat Texas twice last year in Austin and in the SEC championship game. Texas has won 4 in a row this year, 3 of them coming on the road. If Texas wins, they would beat Georgia for the first time in Athens. Dylan, we know your pick, but who are you picking?
Let's just take.
Nobody's going to yell at him for huffing and puffing.
Let's hold some space for this. I feel pretty good about what I'm about to say next. There is a lot to look at when you look at this Georgia team that you should like. They're battle tested. They've showed some rough points this season, yet they've battled back. And yet they still look like one of the best teams in the country. And also, I want to tip my cap to Georgia, ending the season with a little bit of a comfort swing with Charlotte, and then what they thought would be a little bit of a comfort game against Georgia Tech that last year didn't prove to be so, and I don't think is going to prove to be so this year. I respect them for doing because they keep the in-state rivalry going, and you add some pad at the end of the season. But for the most part, this is a Georgia team that has been battle-tested as they come all year long. And I want to tip my cap to them for that because this is a Georgia team that I think is also very good. And to me, they're the most slept on team in the top 10. And so I'm going to remind you guys of a memory, if we will, that a couple weeks ago we said, oh, they're winning a lot of these close games, whatever. But I remember that team from a couple years ago where Pat McAfee's saying, who's that coming down the track? It's the Mean Machine with the red and black. And then he pulled a little bit of a hoax on you. I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep it as straight up as it comes. I'm going to instead sing a song by the Beatles. George Harrison, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, John Lennon. I'm only reading their names because I don't think Thomas has heard half these names before.
I took a music of the Beatles class, I'll have you know.
All people you could have said there is one person on this pod who...
No, it was more funnier. It was more funnier to do Thomas. But anyways.
Go back to English class, buddy.
Anyways.
Transitive property of Congruence.
I'm sorry. Was I speaking?
I don't really want to listen to you. You made up a story about me saying Alabama was terrible. So
there's a song that says, here I stand head in hand, basically turning my face to the wall. And it leads to, hey, you've got to hide your love away. Well, all season long, I've hid my love away for the Texas Longhorns. Because there's somebody on this podcast who said, Arch Manning isn't that good. He's not that great. Man, this Texas team's overrated. Yeah, point at him, Josh. I'm talking to him right now, and he's looking away from me. He's hiding his love away. The reality is that—
I'll say it again in a minute. Don't worry.
Texas is very good. And to me, Georgia can lose this game. They can still get into the playoff. We all think it. Texas can lose one of these games coming up, either to Georgia or to Texas A&M, and they can still make the playoff. I just think with all to go back to my point from earlier about Alabama, with all the dinks in the armor we've seen from Georgia, to me, that doesn't look like armor. That looks like a vest that is about to get pierced through at some point. And for me, that vest gets pierced through this weekend by a Texas team that I've hid my love away on for far too long. I'm going with Texas to run the table in this game. And hint, hint, this won't be the last time I pick Texas as we head into the back end of the season. Give me the Longhorns, baby, to take down a Georgia team that's been sniffing that second loss a little bit too long.
If you didn't hear it the fourth time Dylan said he was picking the Longhorns, he is going with Texas.
I just had to get there to my point, but you guys stopped me about 3 times. But I lost my rhythm. Shut up, Josh.
All right, Justin. you've had time to kind of ponder this. Who do you like?
Let me tell you something about my good friend Arch Manning, who many will say is playing his best football of his young career because he's got 6 touchdowns to 1 interception over his last 2 weeks. And I was ready to say that until Dylan decided to come at me, and now he's acting like he's asleep. All right, on the road against Ohio State, 17 of 30, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. On the road against Florida. Oh, wait, they lost that Ohio State game. Should throw that in. Against Florida on the road, 16 of 29. 263 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. On the road against Kentucky, 12 of 27. That's a 44.4% completion rate, 132 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, I should say. They took overtime to beat Kentucky. At Mississippi State, I'll give them credit. 29 of 46, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 346 yards. Took overtime to beat Mississippi State, which was probably more on that Texas defense than it was on the offense. Oh, wait. If you watched that game and didn't just read the box score, Texas was down really big heading into that fourth quarter. Arch did turn it on. Give him credit where credit is due. He is the reason they won that Mississippi State game. But look at all the other road games. Arch Manning has struggled on the road, and rightfully so for a young man. He has, gone into tough environments. He hasn't succeeded. This Georgia defense is going to eat up Arch Manning this weekend. They are going to cause him fits. Kirby Smart is the best head coach in college football. I've said that on this podcast. I will continue to say that until somebody is more deserving of that title. Gunnar Stockton is playing good football all season. And how about Nate Frazier last week? Finally getting his signature moment of the season. They kind of gave him the keys to the backfield last weekend, and he made good for Georgia. And Zachariah Branch, their wide receiver, has been great as well for them coming over from USC. All that to say, Georgia out-talents Texas. Georgia out-coaches Texas. Oh, and Georgia is the home team in that environment late in November in an SEC play. Yeah, give me the Bulldogs.
Josh?
Yeah, I mean, Justin and Dylan, I guess, made both great points. I don't really want to talk about Dylan too much because, he is still making things up about me. But I think the road talk about Arch Manning is a big one. I think you want to go back to that first game. Yeah, it was really his first true start against a good team when he played Ohio State. And he looked terrible. I think we can all agree that Arch Manning looked terrible. That was the last time and the only time that Texas had played a team that was top 25 in points against in defense. And who were they playing this week? A Georgia team that's top 25 in points against on defense on the road. To back up Justin's point, I do like what Arch Manning has done the last few weeks. Don't like that Texas has had to take overtime to beat 2 of the not great teams in the SEC. Specifically, Kentucky is one of the worst teams in the SEC this season. And just you put it all together, it sounds like a recipe for a Gunnar Stockton key victory. And another reason why Kirby Smart is, don't yawn at me again. Why are you yawning to everybody today, man? Good Lord.
I'm actually just really tired, but some of these were performative.
Well, maybe if you didn't talk about the Beatles so much, we could get to the fact that Gunnar Stockton's going to have a better day than Arch Manning, and Georgia is going to beat Texas, and Texas should therefore, in my mind, be eliminated from the college football playoff, but they won't be because, but they're going to lose. Go Bulldogs.
Listen,
this stop flashbanging.
Yeah, this is insane. Well,
right,
I'm going to be honest. At the beginning of the year, I think on Dylan's show, I predicted Ohio State, Texas as the national championship matchup. I'm going to ride with Texas here. I think that Texas gets a win. This has been a really weird year for college football. Georgia losing at home twice in one season would be really, really weird. I'm here for it. Let's ride with Texas and Arch Manning. Hey, maybe Arch Manning balls out on the road in a bigger environment when steps up when you need. All it takes is one game. And, you can look at the rest of the season, but that could all just be a buildup for him to perform well against Georgia. And, hey, maybe the defense plays well enough where he doesn't need to have 4 or 5 touchdowns in this game to win it. So give me Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning, too, will impact this game with his legs. I think that's going to be an underrated part of his game that will come through. So give me Texas in this game. Now, with that being said, we picked 10 games this week. We picked 10 games last week. Well, actually, a couple of us happened to pick an 11th game last week. And there was a little bit something on the line in said 11th game. So with that, it is a bad day to be a New York Giants fan, isn't it, Mr. Chavalella?
No, sir. The loss brought changes that have been needed. So
well,
you can change. You can do whatever you're going to do here, but the loss was better for the Giants than a win would have been. So
the Bears did come out victorious, my Chicago Bears. So I was granted, the winner was granted one change of pick for this week. So,
wow.
So with that, this was Dylan and Josh had no idea. I honestly kind of forgot about it halfway through, and I was supposed to make this decision earlier.
Yeah, he broke
but
the
I did
rules,
not.
By the way,
I promise I did not change the game I was going to pick.
I love it.
So with that, there was a game we didn't really talk about too much. And I'll tell you what, I didn't really like that we didn't get to talk about it because I think it's a fun matchup. I mean, everyone loves the ACC. Josh is a big fan of the NC State Wolfpack. And you know what, Justin? You were a fan of them too this week. So Justin,
yes, he is.
Your pick. You're going to ride with NC State on the road against Miami. Best of luck, my friend. I mean,
That being said, I flipped back to BYU to make this easier on me.
No. It's locked.
No. Understand. No. Time out. Understand that Thomas was supposed to make that pick before he made his pick for that game. So that's why I kept moving that TCU BYU back and forth, thinking he was going to that game.
That part is
technically, by the rules we put out, he should have made the NC State pick before I made the BYU pick. So I am going back to BYU just in fairness. I will take the NC State pick. I asked that on the graphic you put an asterisk next to it so people don't think I'm insane.
Can I get a Wolfpack from you?
No, he says Wolf, someone else says Pack. It's like Boomer Sooner.
Okay, well, you do it since you two are rooting for NC State this week.
Do it.
Wolf.
Pack.
All right, that just sounds stupid. Roll Wolf.
CJ Bailey is the answer.
They've already caused problems this year. I actually like him flipping this pick. I thought he was going to flip Northwestern Michigan.
I'm going to be honest. I wanted to flip Pitt and make him pick Pitt, but that felt like too much of a.
I tried to play that like half and half game for a couple of these games. Now here's the huffing and puffing. I was trying to be performative so Thomas would think I was kind of on the fence so he wouldn't flip those games.
But I knew what game I was picking going into it. My top choice was NC State. I thought maybe you were going to pick NC State just because it's the ACC. But
no.
It made it even better that we didn't really talk about it. So, Justin, you are an NC State fan this week. Maybe you and Josh can watch the game together on FaceTime.
I hope you somehow have to eat your words for this.
I think you might.
I honestly feel like NC State might somehow win, but I'm going to take the chance anyway. But with that, we'll now move into our locks and long shots. But, hey, listen, don't you bet against those Bears anymore, Justin. You hear me? Bear down. Caleb Williams is here.
Caleb Williams delivered me a nice fantasy win.
Out of all of our teams, the Bears are the best. That's undeniable. So
don't look now.
Well, yeah, my team's quarterback is 42 and has a fake wife, apparently. So
okay, that feels like a topic also.
Dylan's head coach caused more problems today.
Yeah, I heard about that. All right, well, let's get into our locks and long shots and wrap this thing up. All right, Dylan, you want to start us off? Since you
Andy Richter got evicted tonight.
Oh no!
Live
on the podcast. Live on the podcast.
Because you guys want to tape on a Tuesday.
Dancing with the Stars is going on, and Dylan's beloved Andy, what's he from?
Andy Richter from Conan O'Brien, from a lot of comedies. Thomas is Uncultured. Washington State's my lock this week. UNC's my long shot. Why did anybody ask Bill Belichick about the Giants job? He's not going to take it. He's got a 22-year-old girlfriend.
Wow. 24. Get it right.
Justin, your lock. Well, I guess we'll just do both. Your lock and long shot.
No, I'm only doing a lock because I was ready to have to play a game with you here for my lock and long shot. To even out from you picking whatever game you picked, but I don't want to touch that game just in case. Look, there's a head coach looking for his first victory and he gets to go up against one of the weaker teams in the Big Ten. Give me the Fighting Terry M. Smiths after one heck of a performance against Indiana. Give me them. Give me Penn State as my lock. They're favored by 7.5.
Smith.
I do think Michigan State probably covers this and it plays closer than 7.5, but I don't care. We don't play it that way. We play about the winner. So give me the Fighting Terry M. Smiths. Penn State gets back on the board and keeps a chance alive to go to a bowl game.
Josh, before you go with your lock here, I would like to reveal my long shot. My long shot is Michigan State.
Put the photo up. Put the photo up.
I'm going to be honest. I had a feeling somebody was going to pick Penn State this week. So I had Michigan State on my sheet. So give me Michigan State as my long shot. Sorry, Josh. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but needed to put that.
No, it's fine. My lock is a team that is finally playing back at home after getting rid of a head coach that I don't think anybody really in the state of Louisiana actually liked, and that is the departure of Brian Kelly, who is now apparently suing the school of Louisiana State University because he was wrongfully terminated for somehow just really proving that he's not really that great of a human being. Regardless, LSU at home will beat Arkansas. That's my lock.
That was going to be my lock, but I will take actually the opposite of Dylan's long shot. I'm going to take Wake Forest -6.5 against UNC. I just don't think Bill Belichick and his team are good enough. Wake Forest has played well, obviously, the last few games, so give me Wake Forest at home. Dylan did his. Justin, we'll go to you for your long shot.
Somehow Memphis is an underdog by 2.5 against East Carolina. That seems like easy money to me, or in this case, an easy point. So give me Memphis.
Josh?
Am I allowed to pick one? Actually,
do it. Do what you have written down.
You want me to do what I had written down? Because I didn't know what our rules were. I thought it was like +3.
It's just any underdog. Any underdog.
Okay. Well, plus 2.5. That's a toss up. I don't care about that. And I had this written down before you flipped that pick.
Oh, no way.
CJ Bailey will upset his second team in back-to-back weeks. Not back-to-back weeks, set up by a week. NC State will get another ranked win. They will then have the second most ranked wins in the country. Give me NC State as my long shot. Justin, I'm riding with you.
I'm not even shaking my head at Andy at this point. I'm shaking my head at whatever the hell that was from Josh.
This episode has turned into something crazy.
You guys know how we have this picture for Thomas.
Yes.
We have this picture for me.
Yes.
I need to scroll Sasha's Facebook or just text her straight up and ask her for a picture of Josh
name drop
in NC State gear.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to also contact Dylan's mom and ask her for some stupid looking picture of Dylan because I think
it's
we
Dylan's
need
mom with him, but it's Sasha with me.
Find a picture of Dylan in Notre Dame gear.
Yes, there we go.
All right. Well, we'll get those
heading.
pictures for the next episode. We got a couple of NC State fans. We got a couple of disappointed Dancing with the Stars fan.
Yeah, don't love us.
And a Michigan State fan this week, despite going to Penn State. But regardless, this is going to be a fun week, I think, for our show and our picks. And we'll be back next week to recap it all when we come back on Locks and Longshots.